Hey guys, thanks for coming. Start off like we always do with just the champions. On defense, Draymond Jones, Pete Werner, Kendall Sheffield, and Jeff Okuda. And the player of the game on defense was Jordan Fuller, 13 tackles. On offense, Dwayne was a champion. The two receivers, Terry McLaurin and Paris Campbell, were. Luke Farrell was a champion, and two offensive linemen, Malcolm Pridgeon and Michael Jordan, and offensive player of the game was KJ Hill. And special teams, it was only one kickoff got covered, and we did a good job. Punt was okay, and then we made three field goals with right before the game. Sean Nerber strained his groin in the warm-ups. I think it was groin or quad. And Blake came in and really hammered the ball, did a good job. So he was special teams player of the game. Obviously, a big road game, a team that is very good on film, obviously, and scoring a lot of points. And we got to get some guys healthy and get ready to go. So I'll answer questions for you.
Front row middle, Dave.
Urban, do you expect to have Nick Bosa back this season?
He's going to, I believe he's flying back up there tomorrow to get rechecked, I'm hoping.
Are you optimistic, or how would you, I know you said you're hoping, so thank you.
Next door left, Bill Landis.
Urban, we've talked a lot about the run game, and I know some of it just comes down to execution from everybody. Is it possible you guys could do more, whether formationally or build a little more RPO off of this run game to protect it a little bit?
Well, a lot of those passes are RPOs. So, like when you see Paris in the flat or a KJ on a hitch, those are all RPOs. You're reading someone, and if they trigger, you throw the ball. So I'd say there's at least 10 to 12 called runs that are the ball's being thrown. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. How would you say Dwayne is doing with that? Is he always making the right decision when he pulls it, or
pretty good? Yeah, I mean, there's times where it can go either way, but he's very accurate with the ball.
And what's the status of Thayer Munford coming up here?
Thayer is sore. He's I'd say probable for the game Saturday.
Front row right, Bill.
When you study the defense and the way it's been exploited lately, and obviously we saw the slants and the runs and all that. Is there something schematically that you could be doing differently? Do you think you have the right personnel to play the way you're playing right now?
Constant evaluation of that, and it's ever changing with when you guys get dinged and hurt, and you got like last week we were out 5 starters for really the majority of the game on defense, so it's hard to drastically change right now. We held them without scoring for the good part of 3 quarters and had 3 turnovers and 3 sacks. So, yeah, I mean, I see what you see as well. We expect them to be snuffed out, but this will be a big challenge this week. But it's everything you just said. That's what we do all day. It's just constant evaluation.
And when you look at Purdue, obviously, they had a slow start, but they've gotten it together. How scary are they on offense?
They're really. I haven't studied them yet, but I just talked to our defensive staff, and I see the stats. They're really good.
Far left, Lori.
The very best teams, the teams that have accomplished something special under you, Coach, do they inevitably get better week after week, or are even the best teams able to take a step back sometime in the season? Not from a results standpoint, but from a process standpoint. Maybe go from being 9 to 8 units strong in a game somewhere in the middle of the season.
This time you just don't have time to really evaluate, look back, and reflect. And every school is dealing with it. Every team's dealing with, if this guy's injured, how you putting this one in? How do you adapt your scheme to your personnel? Like I believe Bill just asked a minute ago. So we haven't had time to think about that.
Second row left, Ari.
Urban, Justin Hilliard stepped in. Guy that was a 5-star prospect has had an injury-plagued career. What did you see from the way that he played? What's he meant to this team and on special teams going into this? And when you see a guy overcome injuries and stuff like that, how special is it to kind of see them perform?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players, favorite families. He's a guy that means so much to us on kicking game. We took him off the majority of them last week. He played pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. And you've got to remember, this is his second year of football, because his first 2 years were, didn't get to practice, really didn't get to do much at all because of his bicep. injuries.
When you're recruiting somebody like that, obviously with him being five-star prospect, one of the most sought-after players in the country, when he has a few years like that, is that just you kind of take what you can get, or do you still see the potential that you saw when he was a senior? Can he reach the level that you initially envisioned?
Yeah, you saw it with Marshawn Lattimore. He missed 2 years with hamstring injuries, and you never give up on a player and keep working with him, and training staff gets him better.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, you touched on this a little bit at the start, but with the rushing game, when you look at what defenses are trying to do against you guys right now, do you get the sense that they still would rather you try to throw than use Dobbins and Weber? Are those the looks that you're getting?
There are a lot of them, and that's, we went back and studied everything and actually, just had that conversation about these are 10-run calls that we're flipping the ball out there and making plays with it, and that's kind of what Dwayne gives you, where maybe JT gave you something else, where it's more of a run option. This is a run-pass option. So,
Are there things that you think need to be changed with the short yardage running, though? That's the rest of the time, right, with the RPOs. But in the short yardage, what do you think is happening there? Is it a line? Is it scheme? What do you think you need
they're
to
just load the boxes. We're not going to run the quarterback.
Yeah.
So we got to, like we ran a naked on 3rd and 2. So those are all things, once again, we're looking at.
And the way Blake played, could that be a permanent change at kicker?
It's open for conversation. I don't know the health of Sean yet. He was doing pretty good, but I think every day is competition.
Front row left, Tim. Front row left, Doug.
Did you just confuse me with Tim May? That's quite an honor. It's quite an honor. Just very briefly, the way you just talked about the RPOs and the quick passes, like the pairs, do you almost consider that part of your run game?
Yes.
It's not in the stats, but when people say, they only ran for X yards, but when you think
Yeah,
of
once again, Ryan would be a good guy to talk to, because he did, and I sat in there with him. I want to say I don't want to give you a number because I don't want to be wrong, but there's some pass yards at a run place.
Yeah, okay. Rondale Moore for Purdue, I think he's only 5'9". He's second in the Big Ten in receiving. He's just a little fast guy that's hard to cover.
Real fast guy.
Your H's are bigger guys. Paris is a big, fast guy, right? Is there anything, there's a couple little guys in this conference. Lately, you had Dontre here, but lately, it seems like maybe your H-backs are bigger. Is there anything that is it harder to get a 5'9" guy here and put him on the field at H consistently because maybe you're asking him to do things blocking or anything, or is it just coincidental?
You just recruit the best players possible, and then you adjust and adapt your offense to those guys. And he's certainly a guy that can play anywhere in the country.
So you take, if you guys really liked a 5'8" or 5'9",
sure,
you would recruit them and play them?
Sure.
Okay. And then defensively, I think you're 24th in the country in points given up. Is there any part of this, you only gave up 14 against Minnesota, you got some key turnovers. Is there part of you that thinks you can rely on turnovers, that maybe you'll give up yardage, but if you have some big play defenders, we'll get turnovers when we need them? Or can you not rely on turnovers?
I think I understand your question. To say you rely on it, it's part of the game. And we're very aggressive on defense. And, and once again, Bill says, how do you, do we have the right personnel to run our scheme? And then when you start, we've dealt with safety suspended for a half because of the targeting. We've dealt with multiple injuries, and it's at times you're in survival mode. And so to say you're relying, that's the game of football. Yeah.
Front row right, Tim.
Urban, Isaiah Pryor, how did he play Saturday, and do you see progress suddenly at that other safety spot? What's just your take on that other safety spot halfway through the season now?
I do see progress. I know at times it didn't look great, but he actually played okay. Once again, that position's for the whole world to see. It's right out there for you. I thought Sean Wade come in and did some good things too. So that position is not finalized. We're constantly evaluating that as well, but injuries kind of limit you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is Wade going to see more time there, the way you're looking at the way
They're
he's
still having that
progressing?
conversation today and tomorrow.
Yeah. And then past that, your tight ends, Farrell and Rashad Berry especially, How can they factor in to make the running game even better? And you're always floating one of them, it looks like, trying to get a little man advantage, things like that. But what do you see coming from that just particular group down the road?
That's a very healthy position. You got a really good young player coming up too, Jeremy Ruckert, and you got Jake healthy again now. So you have 4 guys that are helping us in other areas of the game too. So Luke and Rashad have been playing pretty good. I think Luke rated the champion. Rashad was close.
And Jeff Brom, when I say Jeff Brom, what's the first thing that comes to mind? A schemer? What are your thoughts about him from an offensive standpoint?
Once again, I didn't study him, but I've been listening, and I watch him usually on Wednesday. But I know of the coach, and an excellent coach, and very aggressive.
Second row right, Tony?
Urban, Kevin Wilson after the game was asked about the run game, and he thinks that maybe you're doing too many formational things, and you don't have anything to hang your hat on right now, and the run game is how he termed it. How would you agree with that? How do you then find something to hang your hat on in the running game?
That's what they're doing now. That's what, like I said, and I think that's an interesting, point of reference is that a lot of what we're hanging our hat on in a run game, if there's a certain player triggers, the ball comes out, and we throw it. So that's kind of where we're at. But we have 2 very good tailbacks, and we're making concerted effort to put the ball in their hands, let them run.
And then he also mentioned maybe running game is also about attitude. You always talk about the apex of the offensive line being the center. How much does Michael Jordan need to bring that attitude to the entire offensive line?
That's the apex of the offensive line, and he's done a pretty good job. He's a very serious guy, very good player, and actually having a very good year.
Third row left, Dan?
Urban, you said last year that you were going to talk to the Big Ten about how many road night games you guys have had to play. This is now the 3rd time away from home you've had to play at night this year. How do you feel about that?
We're going to go back in there and talk about all the things you guys brought up. Not that.
Did you have any conversations with the Big Ten in the offseason about that?
I think so. I can. We're worried about what's going on in that room.
This is also the 8th straight game you guys have played without a week off. Have you sensed any fatigue in your team, and how are you guys working to combat that?
We're cautious, and we've had a tough road, but it is what it is, and this is a big one. This is a big one before the bye week.
Third row right, Taylor?
Coach, kind of going off Doug's earlier question, I know you faced a lot of playmakers this season, Trace McSorley, TCU had a couple, but what specifically stands out on the page about a guy like Rondell Moore?
Just explosive player. Obviously, I have not, once again, I apologize, I have not studied him on offense yet. I will. I've studied in the return game, and he's a guy that you have to be very careful with in the return game. He's a dynamic player.
And then I know this past weekend may not have been your guys' best game, but do you kind of take solace in the fact that, 4 of the top 10 teams lost, 3 barely won against unranked? I mean, do you take any solace in that, hey, we're not the only team, really good team that's struggling right now? Or
No. Or what?
Do you take solace in the fact that maybe there are other really good teams out there that are kind of going through their struggles right now? I mean, 4 of the top 10 teams lost this weekend, so.
Just got Tuesday practice tomorrow and do the best we can to get guys healthy.
Last couple questions over to the left. Matt?
I'm just wondering, in our world with fans and everything, you don't run the ball well, you struggle on defense, everybody freaks out. What are conversations like? What is your level of concern and the coaching staff's level of concern when you have a game where things don't go exactly right? What are your conversations like? A lot of fans are
it's good when you have 500 plus yards. You have they don't score for almost 3 quarters. But we can play much better. I'm not disagreeing with anything. And there's, as I've made comment to many times, and this is probably go back any other 17 years, is that you enhance your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Every team has weaknesses, and there's some things we have to work on.
I just was.
Go ahead.
Do you when you look at film, do you feel like you guys are getting better? Do you feel like?
Sure.
Do you feel like you're close and everything?
I do. I feel, and I think that's a good thing to talk to the coordinators about. but I do feel like we're getting better, and I see some young, Josh Proctor is now contributing on special teams. Marcus played his first game, after his injury. So I try to build on those positives. I'm seeing some young progress from some, Chris Olave is really starting to help us out. So those are just things that I look at and know that we're, making progress. Wyatt Davis is getting very close to playing time. Josh Albee went in and played 25 plays and did a pretty good job. So those are all, yeah, I think so.
And final questions over to the right. Clay?
Yeah, TV plays a huge part in those start times. Is it, you want to be in prime time, right, on a national game?
Clay, you know me pretty good.
You show up.
We're going to go in there and work on some things that we have to work on.
Very good. Coach, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Expect a leak in Cooper back.
Could you give an injury update with all the guys, I guess, that are in question?
Arnett.
Yeah, Arnett.
Arnett's questionable. Landers is probable. Malik Harrison is back, and Cooper's back.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.